Welcome in, everyone, to another episode of my Dynasty Fantasy Football YouTube channel. This time, we're talking a little bit about the 2024 rookie class, specifically rookies that I'm not going to be drafting, avoiding in April and May rookie drafts. Before we get into that, if you like what we're doing here, make sure to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Let's jump into our first rookie avoid. Blake Corum. So I'll be honest, I don't really get it. I don't get it with Blake Corum. I don't know why people are so interested in him. College career is not super exciting. Didn't do much in 2020, just 26 carries. 144 carries in 2021. 952 yards, 11 touchdowns. I mean, it's pretty good. 24 catches is nice receiving game involvement. But then we started to see some increase in volume to 2022. 247 carries, 1463 yards, and 18 touchdowns, but only 11 catches. And then we went up to 258 carries, but the efficiency came way down. 1,245 yards, 27 touchdowns is great. Just 16 catches for 117 yards and a touchdown. His efficiency declined from 2021 to 2023. But worst of all, he'll turn 24 years old in October. The two high volume seasons were after he was pretty much 22 and 23 years old in college. He had a fine 40-yard dash time, 4.53 seconds, but that's nothing special at 205 pounds. That's not special. I think we all know that the Chargers are going to take Blake Corum at 69th overall. Everyone is going to be excited. Whoa, he's going to go in the first round. He's going to get overly steamed up. I can tell you I'm not going to do that. An unexciting, old running back prospect who went in the third round, which he's not going to go in the second round, and drafting that player highly is a terrible idea in Dynasty Fantasy Football. I can tell you that wherever Blake Corum ranks in rookie drafts in May, it's going to be too high for me, mostly because of the age and because of how inefficient he was in 2023, a lack of passing game involvement in 2022 and 2023. I'm just not going to be where the market is because age is so important for a running back prospect. If you want to have the high-end value, you need to be young. You're not going to be a super valuable dynasty running back at 24 already. It's not going to happen. He's older than Devon Achane. He's more than a year older than Bijan Robinson. It's just not going to happen. So I will not have any Blake Corum. Michael Penix Jr., another player I think I'll be uninterested in. These types of players, these college forever players, really do not tend to work out at the quarterback position. He played 4 years at Indiana from 2018 to 2021. And most of what he accomplished was not playing. He played no more than 7 games in any of those years, 2 torn ACLs. Nothing in those 4 years showed anything that showed that he should be in the NFL at all, let alone, a high-end prospect. Then in year 5, he transferred to Washington, where he was good. He played well. 65.3% completion, 31 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 8.4 yards per attempt. Essentially duplicated it in 2023. Basically the same numbers. A little bit better on the yards per attempt, but very similar across the board. He never, and I mean never, I don't think he ever had more than 100 rushing yards in college. He never added anything as a rusher. Nothing. So he's not going to do that in the NFL. So he doesn't add anything as a rusher. Didn't show anything as a passer until he was 22 years old in college. So I don't get it. He's most commonly linked to the Raiders in the second round, which I think is where he's going to go. He turns 24 in May. If a team proves me wrong and spends a first-round pick on Penix, I might be interested in him. But even that didn't work out with Kenny Pickett. That's the last one of these forever college quarterbacks who went in the late first. And that was a disaster. So, yeah, if he goes to the Raiders and has a path to the starting job, I think people will overspend on him in Superflex leagues. This is a very strong class at wide receiver. Those players are a much better bet to hit. I might take him in the mid to late second. He won't go there. So I'll have none of him. And he's definitely not a player I'm interested in at all. Next up, Troy Franklin. He's beloved by dynasty managers, and I get it. It's an early declare prospect who had solid college production. So I understand why we like this player. 18 catches, 209 yards, 2 touchdowns. Then 61 catches, 891 yards, and 9 touchdowns. And then great final season, 81 catches, 1,383 yards, and 14 touchdowns. He progressed over his career at Oregon. No doubt about that. Turned 21 in February. That's good. However, there were some issues. We know he struggled in the gauntlet drill. 4.41 second 40-yard dash. That's fine, but he did it at 176 pounds. In today's NFL, that's not that good. At that weight, you would see something in the low 4.3s. Would be fast. And his 10-yard split, 1.61, dead last among every wide receiver who ran the event. So that burst off the line, we didn't see that. Draft capital is king. And I don't think that Troy Franklin's going to be a first-round pick. He could be the wide receiver 8 to 10 off the board. That's where he's going in most mock drafts. And yes, I will take the bad production profile of Adonai Mitchell or Keon Coleman. They have bad production profiles, but if they go in the first round, I'll take them over the good production profile of Troy Franklin in the second round. Draft capital, more important than production profile, especially between the first and the second round, because that's very key indicator of success. First round picks get a zillion chances. Second round picks, not so much. So yeah, not going to be in on Troy Franklin, I don't think, compared to his price. And then the last one, and this one, I'm totally missing it. Whatever I'm supposed to see, I don't see it. Because MarShawn Lloyd has no production profile at all. He was at South Carolina for 3 years. He did nothing. Nothing there at all. Zero. That shows that he should really do much in the NFL. Then, in his age 22 season, he transferred to USC, and he was fine. He had 116 carries, 820 yards, and 9 touchdowns, 13 catches, 232 yards. Fine numbers. Good efficiency, but where is the volume? Never had more than 17 carries in any game. Never. Single-digit carries in 7 games. He's already 23 years old. He's old. See a pattern here? It's only 3 months younger than Blake Corum. I hear people saying, they're saying, oh, MarShawn Lloyd will be the first running back taken in the NFL draft. Completely out of their minds. Completely out of their minds. If you're going to spend a second-round pick on a running back as an NFL team, that player better have shown the ability to be a workhorse, or at least a starter taking good volume. Lloyd, never shown that. Never. Not in 4 years of his college career. Ever once showed that. So I don't get it. I don't dislike him. I think he's a backup. I think he's going to come in. He's going to play in the NFL. He's a backup. That change of pace role, he's going to excel in that role. Should that be a first round dynasty rookie pick? Absolutely not. Should he go in the second round in the NFL draft? Absolutely not. I think he's fighting to be a third round pick. I don't know where he's going to go. But, the takes I've heard on him are bordering on delusional. So not going to be very interested in MarShawn Lloyd. Now, if you like what we're doing here, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And of course, sign up for the Patreon up there, where you can get my Dynasty rookie ranks. All these players are ranked. You can see how I have them ranked. And you can ask questions for the YouTube show. And I have a bunch of them today. So most of which are related to rookies. So let's jump into those questions. First one, kind of not related to rookies, but I thought it was funny. What's your ideal Sunday football setup? It's nothing special. I just watch Red Zone on the TV. Sometimes I might turn on the Giants game. Giants fan. Been a little depressing last year, so I don't know. Take notes on my computer. Yeah, it's not super exciting. I wish I had a better setup, believe me. What are your top 3 landing spots for wide receivers? For me, pretty chalk. Cardinals, they have a good quarterback in Kyler Murray. We like him. They have no wide receivers at all on the depth chart. Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, that's it. They are a rare team that legitimately, they have 2 first-round picks and legitimately has room for 2 high-end wide receivers to join the depth chart and be the wide receiver 1 and 2 clearly. It's very rare. So the Cardinals, high on my list. Next up, the Chargers, also high on my list. Justin Herbert, elite thrower, like the Cardinals. Very little at wide receiver. It's a little bit better. They have Quentin Johnston and Josh Palmer. Okay, that's fine. But they need 2 wide receivers on top of that. Not quite as bad as the Cardinals. But, I don't buy the garbage that, Jim Harbaugh cannot throw. There will be no throwing. I don't care about that. The quarterback matters to me more than the offense. You notice that no offense that came in turned Lamar Jackson into supporting elite passing weapons. So by the same token, reverse it. No offense is going to turn Justin Herbert into a bad quarterback for fantasy weapons. That's not going to happen. So the Chargers still probably my top landing spot for a wide receiver. I would love to see Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors go there. And lastly, I wanted to put this one on the radar. I've heard a lot about Brandon Ayuk being traded. I don't know if it's going to happen, but if it does, with Jacksonville and Pittsburgh, 17 and 20 they pick. The 49ers could absolutely pick a wide receiver with one of those picks. And if Ayuk were traded and the 49ers drafted a wide receiver in the first round, this would be one of the best landing spots possible. Christian McCaffrey and Debo, both entering age 28 season. Kittle turning 31. They're all older. So this is a great spot for a wide receiver. We saw what Brandon Ayuk did. Now, of course, the rookies there are not going to be Brandon Ayuk right away, but there's an opportunity for them to be great. So that would be a great spot. Assuming the Jaguars, speaking of the Jaguars, take a wide receiver in the first round, maybe acquire Brandon Ayuk, should Christian Kirk be a sell? I mean, he's been consistent in Jacksonville. Very consistent. 4.9 catches, 65.2 yards a game in 2022. 4.8 catches, 65.6 yards a game in 2023. Identical numbers. No production dip from Calvin Ridley coming onto the team. Would Brandon Ayuk be more of a threat than Calvin Ridley? Absolutely. Evan Ingram is still there. Gabe Davis was signed as a wide receiver 3, I guess, to upgrade over Zay Jones. So, I don't know. I have Kirk at wide receiver 31. It feels a little bit high, but you're never going to get the production value back in a trade for Kirk. So he's a tough player to sell. Probably a hold for me right now. If Jalen Wright goes to the Giants, which is what I predicted in my Patreon Discord, what do you think his chances to start are since Barkley's gone? Giants' Devin Singletary contract was pretty bad. 3 years, $16.5 million. But the cap hit doesn't ever rise above $6.5 million. So if Wright outperforms Singletary, I think he could become the starter. I would expect that at some point in 2024, the transition were made if it were Jalen Wright, Devin Singletary backfield. But I do think Devin Singletary would start week 1, if that is what you're asking. I've heard arguments for people saying the community generally overvalues quarterback in Superflex. Do you agree? I also feel like it ties into taking Caleb or Marvin Harrison Jr. 101. I think the top QBs are valued fairly. They're very valuable, and I think they're valued as such, valued fairly. The mid-tier quarterbacks, they're valued bizarrely. I see some places where Bryce Young is way overvalued. Some places where Jared Goff is way undervalued. I've seen them both too low and too high. It really depends on the league. With that said, for this situation, Caleb Williams is the best quarterback prospect in years, entering the best situation for number 1 overall pick in years. I'll take Caleb Williams 101 in Superflex every time. It's not a hard decision. He is the 101 in Superflex, whether you need a quarterback or not. If you want to trade out of the pick, fine, but I'm taking Caleb Williams with any 101 pick in Superflex. Last question. Who are quarterback targets that you would look at before the draft if you had a late first, 110 to 112, need to upgrade to a number 1 quarterback in Superflex? Bryce Young, I don't mind buying low on Bryce Young. There are some places you could send 111 or 112 and get Bryce Young. In terms of upgrading, that's always tough to do. Brock Purdy, I think, is a little bit undervalued. Jared Goff, I talked about him on the buys video. Maybe you could send 110 in a small piece for one of the 2 of those. Buying a quarterback 1, a really high-end guy, is going to cost way more than a late first, but maybe you could send like 110, a 25 first, and something else for Justin Herbert. Probably going to cost more than that, but Justin Herbert would be the high-end buy target for me just because there's a lot of concern about him that I think is overblown, as I talked about earlier. Now, if you like what we talked about here, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Additionally, if you liked all the questions I answered today, the patreon.com/fantasy advice, you can ask these questions, whatever you want. I'll answer them on the channel right here. Plus, you get my rookie ranks, dynasty ranks, rookie pick, trade value chart, and you'll get redraft and start sit rankings as we get to that part of the year. But once again, I want to thank everyone for watching, and I will see you all later. Peace out.